Is your to-do list stuffed full and overwhelming you? What would you say if you could check something off your list without doing anything? Sounds too good to be true, right? Some sleazy sales pitch? Nah, it's just a simple categorization tool. You're going to look through your to-do tasks and projects and find anything that can't be done right now because you are waiting for someone or something. Move those can't be done items now off your main operating list and onto a side list we call waiting for, or waiting, or chillin', or maxin' and relaxin', or whatever you want to call it. Welcome to You To Do You, and today we're going to talk about a waiting for list. Now, when you leave those waiting for items on your active to-do list, you're making that to-do list look more daunting than it actually is. So move those things over, get them out of there, and if you do, you're going to get these free knives. No, what you're really going to get is actually two more bonus benefits. First bonus, when you leave waiting for items on your active to-do list, you're actually causing your interaction with that list to be less smooth than it could be. You know, like you're looking at your list and it's like, well, I could do that, but no, I've got to, hold on, I can't do that quite now, so I'm just going to wait. I'm going to follow up with them. Do you see, it's kind of glitchy, right? So we want your to-do list to be as motivating and energizing as possible. If you're starting the whole way down the list, you've kind of taken the shine off of it. And boy, yeah, when motivation is absent, and it often is, a shiny list really helps. But when you slide those waiting for items off onto their own list, you've brightened that active list back up again, bringing energy back to those things you can actually do something about. Second bonus, if you have a dedicated waiting for, like a holding spot, a waiting for list, you're way more likely to actually follow up on those waited for items. As we'll discuss in a moment, you'll probably want to have a system in place in which you review your waiting for items and, if required, take action to move things forward. If these waiting for items are easy to find, maybe even with a reminder notification set up to ping you, it will be easy actually to check on them. And when you proactively check in with anyone or anything you're waiting for, it keeps things moving forward, enhancing your productivity. So your waiting for list can take some overwhelm out of your to-do list, keeping your interaction with your active to-do list shiny and easy, and make you more likely to follow up with those items, which keeps the ship under control and moving forward. Those are the three benefits of having a waiting for list. Oh, and just a side note, in this video, I'm using the term waiting for list, but it may not actually be a waiting for list. It could just be a waiting for system. I hope you'll roll with me on the terminology. Now, how might your waiting for list or system function? Fundamentally, I see two kinds of waiting fors. One is where you're waiting for another person to do a specific thing. They need to accept the proposal, approve the menu, provide a document, or you could be waiting for, say, a clothing company to deliver those boots that you ordered, or a friend to give you back the book they borrowed from you. Another kind of waiting for is for time to simply pass. You can't register for this conference because the registration isn't open for another month. I don't want to buy those boots until they go on sale in December. I can't drive through the pass until the snow clears. Okay, so by defining the two kinds of waiting fors, we've got some examples of things you might be waiting for. I hope it's coming to life for you a little bit. So with that, let's dive into some best practices for managing your waiting for items. First up, define the what. Now, the what that you are waiting for might be pretty obvious, but I think it can be helpful to put those waiting for items into some context. If the item you're waiting for relates to a larger project, you probably want to make reference to that project in your waiting for list. Also, I have an awful memory, so I like to keep some context notes in that list item or in the project notes so I kind of know what the heck is going on, like waiting for Bill to talk to his uncle. He said he could get us a discount. Next best practice, define who it is you're waiting for. Again, this may seem obvious, but if the waited for item involves other people, this one actually is of prime importance. You need to get clear with the person or people that you're waiting for about who owns what as part of this project. Sometimes the ball is obviously in someone else's court. You're waiting for the client to reply to your emailed list of questions. You're waiting for, say a quote from a vendor. You're waiting for Bill to talk to his uncle. But if you're doing the project with other people and you haven't defined who owns which tasks, the waiting for item is just going to be like an amorphous blob, waiting for whom to do what. I highly recommend ending every meeting and conversation that relates to group projects by defining everyone's takeaway to-dos. If it's just we are going to do this project and nobody knows who is actually going to do what, it's not going to go anywhere. And every time you see that undefined waiting for on your list, you'll think, ugh, what do I do with this? Who do I bug? Am I actually supposed to do anything here? So get clear. And borrowing from the RACI model, RACI, may help define who is responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. Last but certainly not least best practice, define when you are waiting for. There are a bunch of ways to do this depending on your needs and the system you use, but you will want to find some way to remind you to follow up on these items if they don't naturally come back to you. Here are a few options. If you have a digital calendar, make an event on the day that you want to check the item and set it to send you a notification. If you have a planner, paper or digital, that you regularly use, you can make a note or an event on the day or the week or the month as appropriate when you want to check on the item. As you review your planner, you'll spot the item. If you have a practice of doing a weekly review, another topic for another video, you would create and update an actual waiting for list. In there, you can write the date as part of this list entry, like buy boots first week of December. And then if you reliably review that list as part of your weekly review, you'd see the boot buying item on the list and pull it from that waiting for list onto your active to-do list in the first week of December. In a variation of this, you could make a note of when you put this item on that waiting for list, and using that information, you can assess at the time of your weekly review if that item deserves a nudge. Talk to Bill about his uncle's discount on July 6th, and then you think to yourself, oh, well, it's only been a couple of weeks and I know Bill, unexpectedly went out of town, so I'll give him another couple weeks. So that date that you put it on the list could be helpful. If you keep a tickler file, which is a series of dated folders that contain prompts to do things on certain days, you could rely on the reminder plopped into a specific folder to tell you when to check on that item. If your item is email-based, you could use the Boomerang plugin. It's really helpful. It's available for Gmail and Outlook, and you could have it send you an email to pop back into your inbox on a given day. I only recommend this though if your email inbox is under control. If it's chaotic in there, the Boomerang email could just be part of the inbox noise and you could miss the reminder. And also, if you have some of your items in email and some of your waiting for items out of email, then you're going to have a bifurcated system and you have to decide for yourself if you can manage that in your brain. And lastly, if your to-do list software has a waiting for feature, it can pop back items into your active list at a specific time, or just have an active waiting for list that you are reminded to review. So those are various options of where you might park your waiting for list with dated reminders in them. And regardless of where you park those reminders, you may want to ask yourself, how does that reminder actually get in here? How does that item actually get on my waiting for list? Do you do it in the moment you've passed off the item to the other person? At the moment the desire to buy those on sale boots that haven't gone on sale yet arises? That is what I do, but it does take some effort to develop the habit to do that. You have to remember to interrupt yourself, go and put that thing on that list. If that is not a habit you want to develop, or if it's not a habit you can really develop successfully and consistently, then you'll probably want to just do it when it comes. That is, you're going to be looking over your to-do list and you'll say, oh, I can't take care of that one right now, so I'm going to move that over onto my waiting for list, or I'm going to set a reminder for that one at this time. You've created your waiting for list and you've decided when you're going to revisit those items. Let's get a little nuanced here. If you choose a method that gives you a reminder notification, you'll need to think through what you'll do with that notification. Let's say you set a reminder to email you in the first week of December when those boots go on sale. Now, how do you handle that reminder when it comes in? Reminders are not tasks. They are signals for you to do something or to plan to do something. When I get a reminder notification to do something that will take more than 2 minutes, I stop and I schedule it. For this reason, I set my reminders to chime before the time when I will actually want to do them, so I can reasonably schedule them into the coming few days. If you just allow reminders to interrupt you, they are either a frustrating distraction that interrupts your day, they pull you off track and your day starts to unravel, or you might just ignore the reminder because you want to stay focused and then you've lost the purpose of the reminder. So I set reminders to go off on my phone or land in my inbox during the time when I'm most likely to be doing my administrative time, the time when I'm planning and scheduling my day. Okay, to recap, we've identified the need for a waiting for list or waiting for system, that is to reduce the size of an overwhelming to-do list, keep your interaction with your active to-do list bright and sparkly, and make it more likely that you follow up with these waiting for items. And we've discussed the best practices in dealing with your waiting for list. You want to define the what, including the context and other notes, the who is really responsible for this thing, and the when, which has to do with how these waited for items will actually come back to you in the form of a reminder or a review. Now, we talked about some options for setting up your waiting for system and even talked about how you might want to deal with the reminders that pop back to you. And we talked about actually how you're going to get those items on your waiting for list in the first place. Whew, that's a lot of dimensions for one easy hack to make your to-do list smaller by shuttling things off to your waiting for list. Yeah, there are plenty of options for how you create and use your waiting for list or waiting for system, and how you design it and maintain it is up to you. You to do you, of course. But I do recommend getting clear with yourself about your approach. I recommend you experiment and change it up. Of course, that's always my recommendation. But regardless, start with a clear system in mind. Give it a little bit of thought ahead of time. It puts my mind at ease when I have a clear approach, and I think it may for you too. One last note before we go. You may have some materials or physical items or notes or something that relates to a waited for item. Like, I can't call the insurance company about my claim until I hear back from Joe, but I need to hang on to this insurance claim number that's written on this scrap of paper. Where do you store that in the meantime? This kind of scrap of paper clutter can be a big source of overwhelm and disarray in your workspace or in your life or office or whatever, which is, really the subject of another video. But quickly, I recommend 2 things here. 1, don't use that claim number on that little slip of paper as the thing to remind you to call the insurance company, unless that thing goes in your physical tickler file. Things will be smoother if you have a consistently dedicated spot for all of your waiting fors, and you can't be consistent if they're made up of random bits of homeless paper. And 2, have a dedicated storage spot for things related to projects in process, waiting fors. Anything you can't do anything about will be out of your field of vision into that dedicated spot, reducing the chaotic distraction while you rely on your waiting for system to work its magic. So, I'll end with this. Chris Bailey, author of HYPERFOCUS and The Productivity Project, he calls your waiting for list the to-do list sexy secret lover. Sexy because it works so well, secret because no one knows about it or uses it, and lover because the 2 lists work so well together. I love that. Let us know in the comments below if you agree with this sexy secret lover definition. Do you have some sort of waiting for mechanism, or might you give it a try? I'd love to hear your experiences. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.